just had a realization about like my thinking, my thought process on something very specific. And something tells me there's got to be one more person out there that maybe thinks maybe at least 1% close to this right now. And it goes as such. For most of my life, I would say starting around maybe the age of 15, 16, 17, up until just about this past year, there's been this thought process in the back of my mind, and it goes as it's kind of like this. I'm going to try my best to put it to words right now. It's like the words are coming to me right now. If I believed that somebody else ought to have known that whatever they said to me, didn't say to me, would stir up the emotion of like shame within me. Deep down, for most of my life, I've had this thought of, they know that they're doing that, and so therefore I'm gonna get back at them because they ought to know that. Or maybe not get back at them, but maybe I might, with full-fledged confidence, believe that they consciously took said action in a very conscious way, in a way that they knew consciously that what they were doing and or saying was actively impacting me in a way. Like they knew, they must have known. There's no way that they didn't know. And for a long time, I was operating off of that process. And one thing I've changed in the past year is that very thinking. I've basically become more aware that some people may deep down know consciously what they're doing. But for me to assign that label to every single person is wild. That's number one. Two, in me having always assigned this intentional, malicious label onto people, I would then internally feel frustrated for whatever reason. That's two. Three, that thinking wasn't taking into account my own self-awareness of how my own past experiences cloud my own projection, in turn also how their own projection and their own past experiences cloud their own actions and inactions and all this stuff. There was basically a bunch of other things that I wasn't taking into account that I now do take into account. And now that I take more variables, more inputs into account, I slow down. And I do a deeper analysis. Not just one thing, but a track record over a period of time throughout different circumstances in different situations. It's like I plot a map to see, could that person be actually intending this? And I'll give some examples. So like, for example, in a given situation, said person is doing something that traditionally makes me or induces like a sense of shame within me. Cool, fair enough. How was I that morning or afternoon, whenever it happened? How was I during said time of the day? How were they during that said time of the day? Now, I might contrast that with how my thinking is during a different time of the day. Same for the other person. I might contrast that with how they appear to me during a different time of the day. Another thing I like to take into account is, am I fasted or am I not fasted? I've noticed that when I'm fasted, I think in a particular way. When I'm not fasted, I think in a slightly different particular way. I try to take as many points at different vantage points to basically come up with a much more holistic picture. There can be times that my on-the-spot judgment can be accurate, but not always. It can be, though. Like last night, for example, it was one of those where it was actually more accurate than I thought. I was walking around inside of a Nordstrom over here in San Diego. It's the UTC Westfield. So there's a mall over here, like a bougie area. I was in the Nordstrom, and I was just basically walking around with some meditation music, just walking around getting my steps in after like eating a bunch of cherries and shit. There was a particular dude that we locked eyes for like a second, right? I don't know what about this person, but something about us locking eyes, I just sensed something. It was a very brief eye lock, nothing crazy, so no mean mugging on my part, or, that I'm aware of. But at that moment where like our eyes locked, I sensed that I may have potentially triggered the person. I don't know in what fucking way. I just don't know. But there's something about me casually locking eyes with the person and just casually continuing to walk like it's nothing, because it's nothing. Just a slightly awkward eye lock. Okay, but whatever. I don't know. There was something. I just intuited that maybe I threw the person off. I don't know. Anyways, I kept walking. And I walked past the person. Nothing crazy, because I don't know. A complete stranger. I almost sensed or felt that that person was behind me for a few extra steps. I then got onto the escalator, and yes, the person was still behind me. Here's the part that kind of threw me off a little bit. Let me ask you this. If you're riding up an escalator and it's empty, do you stand side by side a complete stranger? Like, do you, on an escalator, deliberately make the deliberate choice to stand literally on the same rung as somebody else? I don't. This person did. And I don't know why this person made the choice to stand right next to me. I have no fucking idea. It was weird as hell, actually. But precisely because that happened, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know who this person is. If I did somehow trigger this person just by just being casually just nonchalant, I might as well just chill right here. I'm not going to give this person any energy. And it sounds irrational as hell, but I've kind of been there. There's been people that, for some reason, how they carry themselves have triggered me in the past. So I know if I've been triggered by how somebody's demeanor, just the fucking demeanor, if I know I've been triggered in the past because they just seem too chill around me or something, it's not unheard of that I may be doing the same thing to others with absolutely no intentional, deliberate choice of doing so. So maybe this person felt triggered. I actually have no idea, but for whatever reason, followed me behind and then decided to be right next to me on the escalator, all the way up, facing me. So I'm facing, the direction of the escalator. This person is facing me, literally on the same run. So there can be times that my on-the-spot judgment can be accurate. But in the past, I've noticed that it's more often than not accurate enough. And so I implement, more, let me plot out more points here and there, depending on my mood. What mood do they seem to be in? What mood do they claim to be in versus what the body language is screaming out? That kind of deal. Not only that, I guess the biggest shift is me shifting away from getting upset from a place of unfairness. Like, why are they, why can't they put themselves in my shoes and not do that which seems so obvious for me not to do, blah, 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 blah. And in turn, I've been experiencing a lot less internal anger, which feels better. So, yeah.